The 5 female characters introduced consisted of the slender adventurer Tracer, the slender healer Mercy, the slender support character Symmetra, the slender sniper Widowmaker, and the slender but well-armored security chief Farah. Overwatch was hardly alone in having all of its female characters share a similar physique.
Well, ain't that the truth? Because in 2013, Feminist Frequency proposed a game concept, one that wouldn't fall into these harmful tropes and cliches that are keeping women down in society. And of course, that game concept featured girls of one body type, which was young, normatively beautiful, and yes, you guessed it, slender.
Slender adventurer. Slender figure with prominent breasts is viewed as the standard for female character design.
But oddly, that standard for female character design didn't stop Feminist Frequency from recommending Jade from Beyond Good and Evil as a positive feminist character. You know, one who was slender, normatively beautiful, cut price Lara Croft hair, you know, the one with the skin-tight pink top hugging Jade's normatively beautiful body and revealing that fantastic pancake flat midriff. And of course, her cargo pants, which are just hipster short enough to reveal that Jade is wearing pink panties. All of which Anita has previously told us are gender signifiers that degrade women and turn them into mere sex objects. Got damseled twice in one game.
But you are not like them. You are mine, Shawnee, and I am going to kill the human part of you. Jade! Shawnee Dom Yandra!
Because while A Damsel in Distress reinforces long-standing regressive myths about women as a group, this reliance on the same body type for so many female characters isn't just boring, it's harmful.
Which is, of course, why he recommended her as a positive female character, with her slender, big-titted support character. And of course she didn't fall into that typical man with boobs trope, where she basically solved all of her problems with violence.
It's worth noting that Jade avoids falling into the tired cliche of the tough as nails, solve all problems with violence, strong female character archetype.
Ah! They've got us in their tractor beam!
It's worth noting that Jade avoids falling into the tired cliche of the tough as nails, solve all problems with violence, strong female character archetype.
Conform! Yes, sir!
And of course, she had realistic concerns that normal people could relate to.
We definitely need more games with warm, compassionate, multi-talented characters who have realistic and relatable concerns.
Like stopping a giant alien invasion.
Recruited by a resistance organization called the Iris Network, Jade uncovers a vast conspiracy between the invading aliens and the government.
You know, because games should always base their characters about reality.
In the real world, there are many female martial artists, athletes, and women in combat roles that developers could use as inspiration when designing and dressing their female characters.
Especially when it's a fantasy game about stopping supernatural demons or something, or stopping an alien invasion. I mean, really, you're looking at over $1 million of feminist research here.
While female heroes are mostly relegated to being standard humanoid characters with conventionally attractive facial features, female characters across the board are often limited to that same specific body type. There isn't any one male body type that is presented as the standard default male body type. There isn't any one male body type that is presented as the standard default male body type. There isn't any one male body type that is presented as the standard default male body type.
Really, Anita? Yeah, sure about that, because I think you're co-writer on the first series of Feminist Frequency.
Over the past 3 years, I've had the honor of working as producer and co-writer on the first season of Feminist Frequency's influential web series, Tropes vs. Women in Video Games.
Might have something to add about that, especially seeing as you thank him at the end of each of these videos. You know, something about maybe there is a stereotype for men.
At this point, we're all familiar with the standard media conventions. Men are typically shown as either stoic heroes who use violence to solve all of their problems, or as bumbling fools who are incapable of nurturing or caregiving.
Indeed, Macintosh is a wonderful example about how the pay gap in feminism is one of the most sexist on the planet, where a woman making videos about how evil straight men are gets about $40,000 per video, while a man gets about $150. He gets paid about half a cent on the dollar for doing exactly the same work that a woman is doing. But hey, it's feminism. It's all about equality.
Male characters are free to embody whatever physique best communicates their personality or abilities, but when it comes to the designs of female characters, that kind of imagination and creativity often doesn't seem to exist.
That's right, that creativity just goes straight out the window when you've only been paid $160,000 to research this.
We mostly get the same body type over and over again, one designed to be sexually appealing to the presumed straight male player.
Yeah, that's right. Because being a straight male is evil. Evil, I tell you. As is the free market.
So who's to blame? Kanye clearly, but also Rockefeller Records, Universal Music Group, the entire music industry, and how the market functions in general.
I mean, using sexuality to sell products is practically rape. Unless, of course, it's a romance novel pitched at a presumably straight female audience. Then, of course, it's fine. Because it's only sexist when men are doing it. Well, that's what they taught me on my gender studies course. Well, that and how to wave my arms around like a rich, entitled baby.
It's expertly designed to be sexually affirming and satisfying for a presumed straight male audience. If it seems like I'm frequently repeating the fact that the player is presumed to be a straight male, that's because it's vital to remember. This presumption influences and shapes so many creative decisions that are made in the development of many games.
It certainly does. Because you know what every straight male gamer wants? Is to go to a white room where you can take pictures of a man in form-fitting attire.
If players then avoid the beauty's deadly embrace for several minutes without killing or neutralizing her, the game transports them to a white room where equipping the camera results in the character making sultry poses. Funny how that doesn't happen with the male bosses in the game.
It's reasons like this why you don't find many feminists in the gaming industry. I mean, hey Einstein, what's your amazing conclusion gonna be next? I mean, have you ever noticed how adult magazines pitched at straight men tend to have a lot of pictures of hot women in them? It's odd how they never have pictures of nearly naked men in them, isn't it? Or even better, have you ever noticed how all the Victoria's Secret models are normatively beautiful young women? I mean, it's almost like old, ugly women are not going to be good at selling sexy. Look, let me make this simple. It's not so much that Anita's got a beef with tropes versus women in video games. It's that Anita has a problem with men finding young, beautiful, hot, sexy women sexy.
Or more succinctly and more accurately, sexism sells. And why does sexism sell? Well, because it's not challenging dominant paradigms. It's simply reinforcing ideas about male privilege and entitlement to women's sexuality that are already entrenched in the cultural zeitgeist.
No! And sprites of hot, beautiful, sexy women ending up in computer games. It would be more accurately titled as Anita versus Beautiful Women.
And a number of her attacks literally leave her naked, because you see she's attacking the enemies with her hair, and her hair is also her clothing, so when she's using her hair to attack her enemies, it can't be covering her body, and
she looks fantastic while she's doing it, which is maybe one of the reasons why there are so many women who like role-playing as these fantasy characters.
But her outfits appear to be designed for... yeah, I don't even know.
Well, Anita, allow me to tell you, it's to make her look good. And before you launch into a diatribe about how all those gender signifiers demean all women and reduce them to mere sex objects, because it's not like you in real life would ever use appearance-enhancing cosmetics, like bright red lipstick to imply arousal, or eye makeup to draw people's attention to your eyes, or midriff-bearing outfits, high heels to add height and hip sway for the evil male gaze, and of course, why not a low-cut figure-hugging top to draw your presumably straight male audience's attention to that part of your body. And when I say white male, I mean white male. This is the premiere of Anita Sarkeesian's new video series about ordinary women. I've got a game for you. It's called Spot the Woman or Minority in his social justice warrior hipster crowd.
With all the conflicting media messages out there, it's not surprising that a lot of young men are very confused about what it means to be a real man.
So you have this YouTuber, this guy named Peter Coffin. You might have seen some of his parodies. The past 8 months, Peter has had a girlfriend by the name of Kimi Kobayashi, who looks like this, apparently. But then Peter starts attacking / cyberbullying an Asian woman by the name of Wendy Chang. Peter's girlfriend starts attacking her in almost the exact same way, almost in the exact same tone. Wendy looks back into Peter Coffin and Kimi Kobayashi's past and makes a giant blog accusing Kimi Kobayashi of actually being Peter Coffin, and Peter Coffin having an online relationship with himself for 8 months.
These are not things we crave. Our self-worth is not contingent on how many women we've laid.
I mean, can you imagine how absurd it would be if a man would turn up wearing an outfit like this?
But her outfits appear to be designed for... yeah, I don't even know.
Or is it only a horribly sexist crime when other women are doing it?
When we talk about how to be a feminist, for me, that means being committed to something much larger than ourselves. It's understanding what role you play in our collective movements for liberation. It's re-examining our desires and interests and understanding how those are often shared by how they're often shaped, maybe shared, who knows, by capitalism, patriarchy, and white supremacy. But feel-good personal empowerment is not how to be a feminist.
Or are you so threatened by hot, sexy women employing these enhancements to make themselves look better that you feel threatened even when it's only done by computer sprites? Well, yeah, like I was saying, it's not so much Anita versus tropes in video games. It's about Anita trying to stop women from looking good in computer games for men. You know, computer games that she doesn't even like.
In short, I've been playing games for most of my life.
I'm not a fan of video games.
The reality of this lifelong involvement with video games isn't convenient for my detractors, so they try to construct a different narrative using whatever fabrications they can muster.
Except I'm doing video games, so it's not exactly a fandom. I'm not a fan of video games. I actually had to learn a lot about video games in the process of making this. And also, video games, like, I would love to play video games, but I don't want to go around shooting people and ripping off their heads, and it's just gross, so...
Or maybe even Anita versus games for adults. I mean, you remember this, right? Did you ever look at the games she found problematic? Page after page of them. And did you ever notice that all of the games that she hated, they're all games for adults? You know, grown-ups.
Games which include a few male gigolos, 24 different non-playable female characters, and their deaths are then used by the developers' open-world environment. Novel-inspired LA Noire earns more points for sex with the courtesan, suspicious number of those achievements, not in and of itself a critical commentary. In the 2010 remake of Splatterhouse, it's implied that the protagonist suddenly shoots her, scenes scattered throughout Mafia 2. Makers have set up a series of possible scenarios, and 4 Metal Gear Solid featured novels centered on the control of games with female protagonists, typically the aim of infusing mature themes into gaming stories.
And do you notice anything about all the games that she likes? Nothing. Not one single game with an adult rating.
These are some of my favorite games. And yet, in some gaming circles, playing these games does not make you a real gamer.
And that's just a roll on the floor laughing my arse off moment. Anita could have saved us all so much time if she had just come out from the beginning and said that she, as a feminist who has done this $160,000 of research.
I've spent the last 3 years researching and examining the representations of women throughout the history of video games.
Has come to the conclusion that feminists are just not grown up enough to play games for adults. But let me help the gaming industry out here. You know, something that you might want to give me an award or something for. About how you can immediately make all of the feminists happy. It's simple. All you gotta do is modify your gaming labels. So, for instance, the gaming label might read, "This game is for grown-ups. It's not suitable for small children or feminists." Or this game won't traumatize any children over 12, which means there's about a 5% chance that it won't traumatize Anita Sarkeesian.
I've spent the last 3 years researching and examining the representations of women throughout the history of video games.
She has an assortment of special moves called torture attacks, which involve devices meant to suggest BDSM and look like something you might expect to see in an exaggerated stereotype of a sex dungeon.
I know my stuff, and I'm pretty good at what I do.
But these sexualized moves have nothing to do with sex. They just obliterate her enemies.
As a leading expert in this field, I'm regularly sought after for media commentary on gaming topics and hired by developers and publishers to consult on upcoming titles.
Sports bras are designed to keep breasts held in place to better facilitate athletic activities. In other words, they're used to prevent jiggle physics in real life.
My analysis is very well researched. It's double and triple checked.
But these sexualized moves have nothing to do with sex.
My analysis is very well researched. It's double and triple checked.
Ilaoi is somewhat more muscular than many of the female characters. Ilaoi is somewhat more muscular than many of the female characters.
My analysis is very well researched. It's double and triple checked. It has to be, given the intense level of scrutiny focused on my every word. This is one of the main reasons why each episode takes so long to produce.
The fact that fat women and women with different body shapes aren't featured in these worlds reinforces the false notion that these women are less valuable and less worthy of recognition than those women whose bodies come closer to matching the cultural beauty standard.
Ah, yes, those cultural beauty standards. It's got nothing to do with biology.
In this song, we're playing the same woman 2 years apart. I'm 29.
And I'm 31. This song is called 2931. Why the fuck did I wait? What's wrong with me? In 2 short years, I'm gonna be 33. Who the hell will want me then? My ovaries are shrinking. I'm disgusting and everyone feels bad for me. And I never get invited to dinner parties anymore.
It's that women lie a lot, we're not trustworthy, we're manipulative.
My last 4 boyfriends, including the guy that I dated for 3 years, have all been a product of a little bit of homeworking.
You know, bitches be crazy. And those attitudes and biases within ourselves go unchecked, they absolutely do real damage.
Oh, what? You think biological reality doesn't apply to you and your adorable cocoon of agelessness? Well, it does. And while you're just waiting around and focusing on you, guess what? You're gonna miss your fucking window!
When female characters' bodies are liberated from the need to uphold narrow, limiting cultural beauty standards,
Those narrow, limiting cultural beauty standards. You mean those biological beauty standards that are ingrained into you at a genetic level? I mean, hell, have you ever wondered why you just can't choose to be gay no matter how fabulously they're dressed? Or why you don't find people in an old age home sexy? Because it's biologically ingrained into you at a genetic level. Yes, most men find young women of childbearing age sexy. And that's not a cultural standard, it's a biological one without which the species wouldn't even exist. I mean, damn, how simple do you need me to make this?
when female characters' bodies are liberated from the need to uphold narrow, limiting cultural beauty standards.
Meanwhile, of course, your proposed game hits none of these beauty standards at all, did it? You know, like a young, normatively beautiful symmetric features, a perfect hip-to-waist ratio.
The male gaze manifests when the camera takes on a perspective of a stereotypical heterosexual man. An indisputable example of this is when the camera lingers, caresses, or pans across a woman's body. In games, it can be as simple as the in-game camera resting so that a character's butt or breasts, or both, are centerline.
And of course, she's got the magical armor which she steals off a man, and then it shrinks to perfectly fit her waist and emphasize her hip-to-waist ratio. And of course, you made sure to not conceal her face like the other knights in the game. I mean, geez, Anita, in your fictional game, you could imagine a petite girl who can simply punch her way out of prison, whose stolen armor magically fits her, waist and all. And she can act like a ninja in that encumbering armor.
And this is just a small fraction of the vast number of female characters who are forced into impractical and objectifying clothing while in dangerous situations.
But for some unexplained reason, you thought it would be too much for the audience to accept her if she was ugly.
To participate in the worlds games create, we happily accept time travel, superpowers, ancient alien civilizations, the ability to carry infinite items, the idea that eating a hot dog can instantly heal your wounds, and a million other fictions.
but for some unexplained reason, you thought it would be too much for the audience to accept her if she was ugly. And by only including young, slender women in your game, you chose to reinforce the message that women who aren't young, slender, sexy, and rich like your princess were less valuable, less desirable, less worthy.
It's harmful to women because rather than asserting that women have intrinsic value as people, it communicates that the kind of power available to women comes from men finding them desirable.
And you rubbed their faces in it by making sure that everyone knew that your princess was slender by giving her magic armor that shrunk to show off her perfect hip-to-waist ratio. You know, the thing that men find universally sexy. And of course, you had to make sure that there were lots of men in there with different body types and of different ages, just to make sure that the game communicated that men could be useful if they were of different ages and different body types.
These limitations on creativity when it comes to female characters don't stop with body type. We also don't see the same range of ages commonly represented as we do with male characters.
Hey Anita, let me make a suggestion. When you can actually come up with a character suggestion for a positive female character who doesn't exhibit any of these things you claim to be sexist, maybe someone will take you seriously. Rather than taking you as the archetypal straw feminist that you complained about all those many years ago.
Every now and then in Hollywoodland, a character that's identified as feminist will magically make his way through the production process and appear on our television screens. Unfortunately, this is almost never good. Hollywood writers rely on one of the most deceptive and disgusting tropes ever to be forged in the fires of Mount Doom. That trope is called the straw feminist.
We are all connected. We are all bond together under the oppression of patriarchy.
Women are being institutionally oppressed all the time in nearly every facet of our lives. In television and movies, the straw feminist works by deliberately creating an exaggerated character of a feminist, which writers then fill with a bunch of oversimplifications, misrepresentations, and stereotypes to try to make it easy to discredit or delegitimize feminism. Or more succinctly and more accurately, sexism sells. And why does sexism sell? Well, because it's not challenging dominant paradigms. It's simply reinforcing ideas about male privilege and entitlement to women's sexuality that are already entrenched in the cultural zeitgeist.
No! Rather than taking you as the archetypal straw feminist that you complained about all those many years ago. You know, the one who finds every slight little thing sexist.
The girls are influenced by femme fatale's malicious rhetoric to see benign, routine, everyday things as a conspiracy against women and against them personally.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.